Assalamualaikum and good morning. I am Aida Abdul Razak, a senior lecturer from the School of Law, University Utara Malaysia. Before I start, I would like to take this opportunity to thank ICIG 2020 for giving me a chance to present my paper entitled Social Media in the Higher Education Amidst the COVID-19 Pandemic, Liberty for Academic Freedom. In my opinion, academic freedom is very close to our hearts as academicians. Okay, there are so many definitions of academic freedom. One of it implies the freedom of the academics to teach without external control in his or her area of expertise, and it also implies the freedom of the student to learn. So this definition goes both ways: academic freedom for academics and also academic freedom for students. Simon Marginson has described academic freedom as far from being naturally outside government. The modern university is a product of government and serves the purposes of government, though it also has other constituencies and purposes. Conventional academic freedom is exercised within boundaries controlled by government and management. In my opinion, this definition by Simon Marginson best describes the Malaysian context. Although the academicians have academic freedom, but we still have our restrictions and limitations in exercising those rights. So, with the recent outbreak of COVID-19, all universities need to conduct online learning since campus are not accessible. Therefore, academics are turning to social media to conduct lectures. The reason is that social media is easy to use. Okay, it is easy to connect, to interact with students. It is easy for the academics to share their lectures online, for students to participate in the lectures as well. So it is an easy platform to use. However, academicians face many challenges in exercising academic freedom in relation to the usage of social media. So, is there any liberty for academic freedom during the COVID-19 pandemic? Has any limitations or restrictions been lifted to accommodate this pandemic, as we are all using the internet, we are all using social media to conduct our classes online? So the question that needs to be looked into, whether is it really a freedom of expression, or is it a political constrained expression, meaning that your freedom of expression is actually restrained or limited based by the politics or based by the government. Okay, so these are a few of the social media platforms that many of us are using, like for example Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube account, WhatsApp. It is very, very easy to use the social media platforms, and even though some of us are not familiar or do not know the way to use it, but we have been teaching ourselves how to use these social media platforms because of we need to conduct classes online, and using social media actually has an advantage for us and for students, since it is easy to use. And for students who are not financially stable, or who are not who are not able to purchase a lot of data, using social media is one way of helping them. Okay, there are three research objectives in this paper. First is to examine the law relating to social media freedom for academics in Malaysia. Second, to demonstrate the potential of social media in higher education. And third, to analyze the extent of academic freedom in respect to the use of social media for education. The methodology used for this research is doctrinal research methods, which is library-based. So I've looked into the legislation and cases and also journal articles. And the content analysis method was used. There are two significance of this study. First is to contribute to the institutional framework. For instance, the Ministry of Communication and Multimedia of Malaysia is strengthening the legal framework of social media freedom. And secondly, to benefit the society and can be used as legal resources for judges, academics, and law students. Let's move on to the discussion. Actually, Malaysia has many laws that restrict the function of the media, either printing media, broadcasting media, or the internet. So social media, we can categorize it as usage of the internet, right? So there are four legislations that I've looked into. Okay, first the Federal Constitution, second Communications and Multimedia Act 1988, third Sedition Act 1948, fourth Printing Presses and Publications Act 1984. For the Federal Constitution, Article 10 states that every citizen has the right to freedom of speech and expression, but Clause 2 of the same article limits and restricts and has imposed restrictions on the freedom of expressions. Okay. Section 4 of the Sedition Act states the offences for any person who have a seditious tendency to disseminate information, right? And Section 7 of the Printing Presses and Publications Act 1984 describes what are undesirable publications. This may include paintings or pictures or any information over the internet. But I would like to bring your attention to Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1988, which states that any person who uses network facilities or network service improperly commits an offense. Okay, this section is very broad and general, but we can conclude that this includes academics as well. I have also looked into the temporary measures for reducing the impact of coronavirus disease 2019 Bill 2020, which was passed on 25th August 2020. Okay, the purpose of this bill is to modify certain provisions in the legislations. The legislations include Limitations Act, High Purchase Act, and many more. But sadly, there is no mention of legislation relating to freedom of expression. Therefore, we can conclude that there is no liberty for academic freedom in the social media amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. It is same as before. Okay. We do not have there is no restrictions or ban lifted to accommodate the dissemination of information through social media. Thus, I would like to suggest to a universal definition of academic freedom. So we should look whether should we limit the scope to protecting teaching and research within university confines and within areas of scholarly expertise, or should the definition encompass expression and action on additional issues within and outside the university? Second is reform to the legislation, especially Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1988, to insert a provision of what constitutes improper use of network facilities, or what constitutes a violation of academic freedom. So it can be narrowed down, okay, what we can do or what we cannot do. This brings to the conclusion. Okay, we are in the 21st century where education should evolve according to time. Therefore, we as academics should be motivated to explore new innovative teaching technologies in the classroom. This includes the usage of social media by academics to support remote learning due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Lastly, academic freedom in Malaysian universities can be realized by students and academicians alike if they express their views within certain limitations, but the society and the government should be more tolerant and be receptive to constructive criticism. This brings to the end of my presentation. And I hope that my presentation is clear and is easily understood, and I welcome any questions from the floor. Thank you.